Hello, and welcome to the Weather-report. Welcome and thank you for joining me on my journey to visit and rate every Wetherspoons in the UK and Ireland, awarding them a wooden spoon if you should give it a miss, or a silver spoon if you should put it on your hit list. Please, if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave a review. It does help me very much. Also, if you have any thoughts at all on the podcast, email me at perrysoldSpooners@hotmail.com. Now, I need to address something, as the review today is not the Port Jackson Bishop Stortford, as I said at the end of the last podcast, but rather the Hippodrome in March. I have had to visit elderly family in the hospital, so time is not allowed me to get to Bishop Stortford. I do have a top tip for you though. If you are staying in hospital and someone buys you a bag of Werther's Originals, or Wether's Originals, that nearly works. But you know, the butterscotch sweets. Make sure you count them before you fall asleep to know if some other unscrupulous patient has stolen one while you sleep. Also, be aware if you get the sugar-free butterscotch sweets. If you do eat too many, it can have a bit of a laxative effect. I've learned that the hard way. Sorry about that little detour. So the short of it is, I will be reviewing the Hippodrome in March this week. Now, in other sad news, I am not joined by my co-host Pepsi this week. With everything going on, I thought it best to stay with Claire with an I for a little while longer. I do feel bad doing it without him, even though he didn't do anything, looked bored most of the time, and growled for no reason. I am also missing him. But we must proceed. Before we get on to Wetherspoons news, I have been looking at the stats for the podcast, and it appears we have someone who has been listening in Stockholm. The stats gives me the breakdown of where people are listening. Are you our Swedish listener? I'd love to hear from you. Are you a sexy Swede? Or an expat living out there for work, feeling homesick and missing Wetherspoons? Please let me know. Are you Agneta or Bjorn? Sweden, of course, famous for, and not limited to, IKEA, ABBA, the band Ace of Base, who famously sang All That She Wants, a song in which a lonely woman wants another baby. A song which totally disregards the financial impact a second child would have on a single-parent family. Sorry, I'm detouring all over the shop today. Pepsi is in charge of timekeeping and keeping us on topic. Time for Wetherspoons in the news. To Essex and Basildon Town Centre, where a poundland in the centre of town has been converted into a Wetherspoons. So, from Poundland to nearly £1 a pint land. The £3.6 million investment in the King of Essex pubs will replace the old Poundland and create about 70 jobs. They're aiming to have the pub done by late November. I, for one, am looking forward to reviewing it and might get there not soon after opening and give you my first impressions. Another new opening. A 2.8 million Wetherspoons is set to open in South East London. The Lion and Unicorn at Waterloo Station. The venue is located in a former Eurostar terminal. Now, you can't tell me this isn't a move by Sir Tim Martin as an irony for Brexit. The pub design is a nod to its namesake, the Lion and Unicorn Pavilion, a much-loved attraction at the 1951 Festival of Britain. It will be open from 6:30 in the morning till 1 a.m. Clearly they're trying to cater to the tipsy commuter trying to catch the last train home. The third news article comes from Wales Online and is very misleading. In the article, they report about a savvy YouTuber called Charlie Vlogs, that by ordering the elements of a full English breakfast at Wetherspoons via the app, you can have a cheaper breakfast than buying a full English. Well, see, what happens is Charlie already orders 3 items off the menu and it comes to £3.43. He claims it's cheaper than the full English, which can run you upwards of a tenner in central London. But he only had beans, eggs, and 2 rashers of bacon. It's not a hack. Frankly, the whole thing's dribble and not news. I think that the point is that he's trying to find the cheapest breakfast in London, which is fair enough, I guess. The headline reads, "Man shares clever hack to get super cheap Wetherspoons breakfast." Feels like clickbait to me. After writing this, it's appeared in the Manchester Evening News. Headline, "Smart Wetherspoons breakfast hacked. You can get full English for under £4. No, you can't. It's very hacky. I'm not a journalist or understand what a hack is, but it feels it. Might as well read YouTuber buys food from spoons, because that's all that happened. In another article, Sir Tim Martin on dealing with booze at airports and defence of pre-flight drinking. Probably a good read, but it's behind a paywall at Telegraph, so I'm not paying for that. Also, the London and Rye Wetherspoons in Catford has closed after 24 years. This is a spoons I listed last week or the week before as one that was closing. Have you been affected? Are you a member of staff, a regular? Let us know. I'd love to hear more from staff of Wetherspoons on the podcast. So email me in at perrysOldSpooners@hotmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, leave a review. Now, let's move on to this week's pub, the Hippodrome, March. Now, I know this is different to the advertised pub at the end of last week's podcast, but life happens and I had to make allowances. So, before we start, let's have a look at a few reviews. The overall score on Google reviews is 4.2 out of 1,800 reviews. TripAdvisor, 3.5 out of 486. So, doing well on Google, not so well on TripAdvisor. Places tend to do better on Google, from my experience so far. Okay, so first up we have Paul N's 1-star review, and it goes, ordered 2 meals with the app. Only got one. Went inside to ask about the second meal. Just got told it hadn't been ordered. Needless to say, we won't be going back and recommend everyone else spends their money at businesses that appreciate it. I've had this problem as well when using the app. Often, you have to make sure to check your basket before you pay. I don't know what you expected from this, Paul N, as this feels like your mistake. Because if they had missed a meal, they would have happily given you one. It seems like you didn't order it. So I feel like Paul has done is blame the staff for his mistake. Next we have Graham L's 3-star review. Nice enough food, but no clean tables. Currently 17 tables around me with dirty glasses and crockery. Been like that for over an hour. Graham here unhappy that the tables were left dirty, given no context if they were busy or short-staffed. Wetherspoons are run on very tight margins as if to offer the best value. This includes staffing, so staff calling in sick would have a massive effect on the running of the pub. This is bound to happen given those circumstances. Next up we have John L. Wonder if he's a relation to Graham L. Definitely had a better time than Graham L. Absolutely fabulous place to have a bevy. What a beautiful building Wetherspoons has turned it into. Glowing review here from John L. It is true. It is a beautiful building. Then we have Ian with an Eyes review. Well, Ian with 2 eyes. A full set of eyes. Some people replace the I in their name with a Y, or vice versa. I for a Y in the case of Nikki and Vicky. But is that only the case if you replace the C with a K or drop the C altogether? What are your thoughts? Are you a Martin with a Y, or a Nikki with a K, C, Y, or even an Ian with an I but a Y instead? Am I too old to be a Perry with an I? Or would that make it the feminine? Not that that matters. I don't think I could introduce myself to my existing circle as Perry with an I. But if I moved to a new town, I definitely could reinvent myself as Perry with an I. Sorry, Perry, Pepsi usually stops me from rambling. Do you think he could be Pepsi with a Y? Joking. Maybe I should just read Ian with an I's review. Food always bought over promptly. Unique style setting based in an old theatre. Lovely review there from Ian with an I. Or is it Seekley with a Y? Anyway, now for my review. I arrived in March, about 11:30. March to town, not the month. Imagine you could visit months like town. I'd moved to sunny May, not too hot. You'd have the whole summer to look forward to. Sorry. I arrived in March, and it was hammering it down with rain. So it made it hard to take in the sights. I decided just to head straight for the Hippodrome. I noticed across the road there was a little shop called Fruitopia, which at first I'd mistaken for a greengrocer's, but it was actually a casino. I use the term casino loosely, as it was just a shop full of fruit machines. The Hippodrome is also Wetherspoon's hotel, and the hotel appears to be next to the pub itself, which has 13 ensuite rooms, priced between £63 and £96, depending on which room you choose. From the pictures, the rooms look very nice. Again, it's what you'd expect from that price point. The shower looked nice too. As I've said before, I hope the water pressure is good, as we don't like showers with asthma. The hotel and pub are joined by what looks to be a lovely garden. It was a shame it was raining on the day I visited, as on a nice day I would love to have sat out there. Now, something I would say is beware of the pictures on booking.com, as they appear to have been taken a while ago. One picture you can see an ad for a Mother's Day roast at £6.59 with a drink. I don't think Spoons have done a Sunday roast since 2016, and the last one was Mother's Day, if I remember correctly. I remember it as it was my mother's last Mother's Day at a Wetherspoons. I can't recall the price, but today a roast with a drink would seem unthinkable, even for Wetherspoons. Mother McGann didn't care for spoons. I was probably quite grateful I stopped taking her there for Mother's Day. Would say it was like eating in the bottom deck of the Titanic. Was a big fan of the James Cameron film Titanic. She didn't care for Avatar. I got the feeling she was rooting for the colonial humans all along. She did say she'd like them to tame those blue savages. The building was opened in 1929, has a 900-seat cinema. It also has a stage, 5 dressing rooms, served as a bingo hall at one point, and was refurbished by Wetherspoons in 2011. The Hippodrome is looking a bit tatty, but well maintained. This is something that suits it, as it seems like you're going back into time to another era. The walls are adorned with old film posters. The doors feel like Art Deco cinema doors, similar to the Corn Exchange at Bury St Edmunds. The majority of tables were in a large room, and it was busy as well, but I didn't struggle to find a table. It wasn't a clean table, but it was a free table. A member of staff did come clear and wipe the table next to me. I made eye contact with them and smiled, as if to say, "Could you wipe my table next?" in the hope they would realise that mine needed wiping. I did everything I could politely, short of miming a table wiping action, to clear my table, but I'm afraid it fell on deaf eyes. I've never enjoyed the passive-aggressiveness of someone asking for a cloth to do it themselves, which is something I've seen a few times. Next time, I'll just ask, but I feel rude for asking, as it should be a given that tables need wiping. I know it's their job, but it still feels rude. Claire was nice, said I had a problem where I wanted everyone to like me, including strangers. No, I just don't want to seem rude. There is a difference. She would point out where they hadn't wiped the table while they were still wiping. I sat admiring the pub. There was a lot to take in, so if you do go, make sure you do. It is definitely one of the more interesting Wetherspoons out there. For how busy it was, it seemed calm and the staff had it under control. It was not as loud as the Corn Exchange. I ordered via the app this time. I think it was just about 12. And I think there'd probably just been a rush on breakfast. I expect this is probably common in most Wetherspoons. I ordered the Korean fried chicken bowl and a pint of Shipyard. Now, the Shipyard turned up in good time. It took a solid 23 minutes for my food to turn up. Now, this is something I want to address. I found myself irrationally furious that my food was taking so long. When in reality, 23 minutes isn't that long. It's just that Wetherspoons set their target of 10 minutes, which in some cases, the food is out in less than 5. And surely we should feel more incensed by this, as they are clearly giving us the hurry-up treatment. On the whole, I didn't mind. I read some Wetherspoon news and found a news article I'll share with you later. It also gave me time to take in the building. Now, my food arrived. Was apprehensive about this dish, as I had received mixed reviews. Now, the dish itself is fine. It is their chicken bites, chips and a new sauce mixed in a bowl with some coriander and chilies thrown on top. Not a lot of chilies, not a lot of coriander. The dish was enjoyable enough. It was just chicken nuggets, chips and a fancy sauce. The sauce was nice enough. The innovation of the dish comes from them creating a new dish from things they already had. This dish isn't very different to the chicken bites in a basket with chips and a Tennessee sauce, although they have mixed the sauce with the chips and the bites. I'm not against the dish, but the way in which they have pushed and marketed it, you expect it to have really come up with something new and special. I don't think I'll have it again. I also don't think it will be around for very long. It will be the last we see of it. I wish I had more to report on the dish. I was rather underwhelmed, despite not knowing what to expect. It still managed to let me down. My pint of shipyard was delightful, as always. Now, it was time to investigate the toilets. The toilets were up some stairs, and all the way up the stairs they had some pictures of Golden Age movie stars, Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable. I didn't see any of Jimmy Stewart, star of It's a Wonderful Life and Harvey, a film which a man befriends an imaginary rabbit and is committed to an insane asylum. One of my favourite films. The signs on the door for the men's and women's had pictures of movie stars. The ladies, it was Marilyn Monroe. I cannot recall who it was on the men's. I did want to take a picture, but was worried at the moment the shutter of my camera clicked. I would have caught a picture of a gentleman leaving the toilet and be accused of being a pervert. The toilets were fine, clean, check sheet was up to date, very clean, no mess. Now it's time for the scores on the door. Cleanliness. On the whole, it was clean, but they were not quick at clearing and wiping the tables. My table was dirty despite my best efforts to wink and nod in its general direction when a member of staff was near. I think it was all the winking and nodding that made him think I was a pervert. Speed of service. Now the aim here is sub 10 minutes. The drink was about 2 or 3. Food, 23. Not great. Staff, they were efficient, well organised. They were functional again, like most Wetherspoons. Time to toilets. It took me about a minute. Did have an access toilet downstairs. Toilet cleanliness, very clean. The check sheet was up to date. Food, when it arrived, it was hot. This isn't their best dish. I still ate it all. Felt like a dinner a teenager would make if they were left on their own for the weekend. Quality of drink. The shipyard was fantastic. Now, for value, the dish I had was £10 and 2 pence with a drink. The shipyard was 3, so roughly £7. Other drinks, so let's start with the ales. You've got the usual suspects. Ruddles, 179. Doombar, 260. Abbott, 288. Guest ales when I visited were the Witchwood Hobgoblin Ruby, 263. And Hook Norton Haymaker, 263. Bud Light was 239. That's their cheapest lager, and I still wouldn't drink it. Guinness was £3.45. I think this is a 30p increase on what we've seen so far. Stowford, 239. Strongbow, also 239. Usually these two are priced differently in other Wetherspoons, but this occasion it's just 239 across the board. A gin and tonic here with Gordon's is £3.80 for a single. Now, this is not as great value as others that we reviewed, is it? It's at £2.10 most places, so that's interesting. Can you think of a reason why G&T is a whole £1.50 more in March than other ones we've reviewed so far? Is it truly the ruin of Mother in March? Now, I want to give the Hippodrome a soft silver spoon. It's definitely worth a visit. Maybe because I came at the crossover from breakfast to lunch. That's what caused the 23-minute wait. Is it that bad a wait? That is normal waiting times in most places. Clearing and wiping the tables, I think that's on them. The dish, that was on me. I should have spotted it was a dud. So let's go with a soft silver spoon. Maybe go at a quieter time. Order something safe and enjoy the surroundings. And prepare to wait. If you can call 23 minutes a wait. Mailbag in a moment, but I just wanted to read you this lovely article I came across in the Wetherspoons news. It's a cake made in the shape of a Wetherspoons breakfast, a man made for his wife's birthday. It even includes the now iconic willow pattern plate, and the headline reads, "Cake disguised as Spoon's breakfast takes the biscuit." It goes on to say, pub customer Dave Wood surprised his wife Deborah with a birthday cake to celebrate her 60th. Made to look like a traditional Wetherspoons breakfast. They regularly visit the Rawson Spring, Sheffield, for breakfast and have visited over 100 Wetherspoons pubs, including all of those in Yorkshire. Oh, well done, Dave Wood. She didn't want to eat it. She wanted to glaze it so she could keep it and permanently display it. In the end, she chose to share the cake with the staff at the Rawshaw while keeping the cake topper, which is the I think the traditional breakfast made to look like it. The cake was made by Dave's relative at request. Maybe not be the most perfect representations of a Wetherspoons breakfast. The cake has a mushroom instead of hash browns, and Dave admits that the sausages look a bit burnt. No one's questioning its artistic bakery skills. It is a lovely cake. And if you want to see it, it's on page 27 of the current issue of the Wetherspoons News. And of course, happy belated birthday, Deborah, if you're listening. Deborah, it never suited you, but maybe in this case I think it does. Good day, Perry. I've been listening to your podcast right from the start and found your views on Wetherspoons most enlightening. I was, however, upset to hear about the potential closure of the Foot of the Walk in Edinburgh, as it is my local when I visit the Lee once a year, which I used to do quite regularly before COVID. Tell a lie, I went back there last month. It was just a quick tram ride or a long tiring walk from the town centre. Went in on a Monday for fish and chips, as the fish and chip shop across the road is closed on Monday. At least the mushy peas were hot. What will all the visitors to the festival or even the locals do if it closes, apart from visit the other two Wetherspoons on George Street? Anyway, maybe you will consider a French festival Spoons Crawl next summer. Maybe, who knows? Probably not. And definitely not during Fringe. There's nothing worse than open mic in the back of a pub. Sorry, I've diversed. In the meantime, if you fancy joining me at my local in St Ives, not the one by the sea, it's called the Swan and Angel, not the Swangle. Swangel? I think he's trying to say Swangle or Swangle. Swindle? Some mistake it for. Farewell for now, Colin from St Ives. Thank you for your email, Colin. I'm sad to hear of the closure of the Foot in the Wall as one of the more interesting names of Wetherspoons. Your email is also one of the more interesting emails I've had. The Swan and Angel is on my list, as are most Wetherspoons. I would love to join you for a pint in the Swangle, where I suspect you are well known to staff and the customers. Welcome to the club, you POS. Next we have an email from Grace S. in Huntingdon, who says, I very much enjoyed your glowing review of the Stamford House in Huntington, my local. We reviewed the Sanford House a few weeks back, and she would like to take Ringo Starr, or Richard Starkey to his friends, to the Sanford House and have a gin and tonic. I don't know about that, as I think Ringo Starr prefers an octopus's beer garden in the shade. Thank you very much for your email, Grace. You're a POS now. And if you'd like to be a POS like Colin and Grace, email me at perrysoldspodooners@hotmail.com. Now I'm afraid that's it for this week. Please drop me an email. Review the podcast if you enjoyed it. It does help me very much. Pepsi will be back next week. Hopefully he can restore some order. Say goodnight. Oh, he's not here. Good night, and I'll speak to you spoonly.